Hello everyone and welcome back to another fantastic episode of your weekly PlayStation podcast, Talking the PS, where myself and my co-host round up all of the week's PlayStation and gaming news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games or up there in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. We have a great show lined up for you this week talking about the Game Awards, December's PlayStation Plus games, Far Cry 6 entering some new Lost Worlds, an Uncharted rollercoaster ride, Richie, and much, much more. But before we delve into all that, don't forget to give the video a like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the wonderful content we do here at Helix Cloud Games, like our first looks, live streams, and let's plays. This past week, we checked out Battlefield 2042 in the cloud alongside you, the wonderful gaming community out there. We had a great time, although the internet providers did cut us short. We'll be back this week with some more Battlefield. In fact, it might not be on the Thursday, because this Thursday, a little bit of housekeeping for you all out there, listeners and viewers, is the Game Awards. And I say Thursday, and by Thursday, I actually mean first thing in the morning on Friday, because thanks to time zones and our good friend Jeff Keighley, who hosts the Game Awards, it goes live at, I think, 1 a.m. on Friday morning UK time.
Yep, it's a late one for us.
It's a late one, but we enjoy it anyway. Check out the episode of CloudQuest that goes live on Wednesday. Are we putting up on Wednesday, Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm going to put up Wednesday morning, so you have a full day of CloudQuest before the Game Awards drops.
Hey,
well, technically two, basically.
Check
2
that
days.
out. Check that out. That's right. So we're going to view the Game Awards live. We're going to react and watch along and see if our nominations. But if you want to know what our predictions are for the Game Awards, that show goes live on Wednesday. This show goes live on Tuesdays. And XPass, our weekly Xbox podcast, where we round up all the Xbox news, goes live on Mondays. So you have a stacked start to the week this week. And I can't wait for it all, Rich. It's a busy week here at
and then we sleep
Games.
on the weekend.
And then we sleep and recover on the weekend, of course. I wouldn't be able to do any of this without my lovely co-host, the returning man of many pixels, looking quite sharp in his shirt today. Richie, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Had a really nice day yesterday.
Really nice day. Is this the nice day where you went out and spent all of your Stadia stimulus money?
Yeah, I spent my Stadia stimulus money, so I bought a new guitar yesterday. I was thinking I was going to buy a guitar anyway. It's something I've wanted for a while, and this way I don't have to put in a credit card. But I had a nice trip out. Guys in the guitar shop were awesome. I went to a brewery for a pizza. The usual Saturday affair.
It sounds like a damn good day, if I'm honest. Sounds like a nice and
It
chill
was.
day.
It was a spontaneous day as well. Like I messaged you on like the Friday and going like, I'm going to Leeds tomorrow. Are you free? Like,
why not?
That's how quick it came about. So
it can happen, and all the more better because it's free as well. Of course, yeah. Shout out to our legacy viewers out there who, of course, are probably enjoying their Stadia refunds coming through now. Able to spend on anything that you so desire.
If you're video listeners, it's not that one on the wall behind me. It's downstairs.
Check out his Twitter at RichieC89. Of course, you can follow me.
Did I post a photo of the guitar?
I think you're providing the comments to one. You definitely posted a picture of a beer and a pizza. So if you're hungry, don't go check that one out.
Well, at that point I owned the guitar, but it was in my car outside. I hadn't got home and took photos yet.
Yeah, I had a good mess around with it. Play with those frets and such. But yes, you can find Richie at RichieC89. You can find me at CyberChris2077. And we are everywhere on social media. We don't really point it out much, but we do have Instagram. You want to check us out over there. We also, of course, have a Facebook page. It's interesting because as all of the Stadia pages pivot towards PlayStation now, it's trying to find our way in the world as such. But thank you to everyone who stuck along and subscribed, of course. Our fantastic Helix Heroes, you wonderful folks out there who support the channel. You make this dream a reality of us bringing you better quality content every single day. And a shout out to our two newest Helix Heroes who've just joined us this week on the bronze tier. Dwemer, nice to see you again. Thank you for your patronage and support. And brand new to the channel, Brendan K as well. Thank you very much. Your support is very much appreciated. Over 50 of you, of course, shows your support, and you get access to early content. There's some videos up on there exclusively for you right now on the channel. And there is also early access to this very show. Usually goes up on a Sunday. And, of course, CloudQuest, which is nearly up to a week early. However, not this week, because the Game Awards means you get it even earlier on those free feeds out there. It's wonderful stuff. Of course, we do have big plans for the channel. Big chance for the panel. In fact, coming in the new year, we're going to be evolving and changing things up a little bit, as we also like to do. Some great new content in store and in mind lined up. So exciting times ahead. Richie, before we get into all of the, of course, PlayStation news of the week, what games have you been playing in your downtime?
I haven't had much downtime. Again, it's going to be a recurring thing throughout December for me. World Cup taking up a bit of time, so I've been playing a bit more Pokemon, jumping in, just bouncing between Pokemon and God of War. So I'm taking both of them at quite a slow pace, but it'll be fine. I'm enjoying it. I'll get through both of them probably by the end of December 2023.
Yeah, you've got plenty of time for that one indeed.
It's all good.
Yeah, well,
I do want to get both of them done before hopefully maybe before I break up for Christmas. Although that's pushing it, to be honest, because then maybe I can get a game in over my Christmas break, and then we've got like Forspoken in January.
How many hours into Ragnarok are you now?
I want to say I'm probably about 30.
I
keep getting caught up telling myself, like, you know what, focus on story content, and then I keep caught up in doing side quests.
You know what you need? You need to be better, boy.
That's true.
I reckon you're
the very best, like no one ever was at the same time.
At the same time, yeah, you're out there doing Pokemon. I don't get Pokemon until Christmas Day, so I've got a bit of a gap to jump on that one. I have the Platinum in God of War Ragnarok now. Finished it. Clocked in probably just over 45 hours. A couple of obviously clean up to do, searching collectibles and such, not too arduous to find. Things like I think Odin's Ravens and stuff this time around. I mentioned it to you on one of our other shows. By the time I finished the actual main story, I think I was only short by 2, maybe 3, and then actually going back to find them, because the map breaks it down into kind of like each specific area. I was able to round them up and find them quite quickly. Nothing overly strenuous, but more just
I'm trying,
going back.
Knowing how I'm playing it, I'm trying not to stress out about too much, like getting all the ravens and stuff, and doing every little detail in every area. If I miss a chest, if I miss like a legendary chest or something in an area, I'm not going to spend the next like hour running around looking for it. I'm just moving on, because I'll just do all that and clean up because I want to keep the bit of pace behind the story, and the way I'm approaching the game with maybe playing once, twice a week, not exactly great for that bit.
Yeah,
keeping the momentum
that's
up.
good. Once you have finished the story, though, for anyone playing out there as well at home, definitely recommend going exploring the world. There are multiple things that happen after the events of the main story, which are like, they put nice little bows on certain things, places, people, that kind of thing. So definitely go check that one out. And I'm sure if you're going for the Platinum, Richie, you'll probably stumble across those things along the way. But yeah, Ragnarok, of course, potentially one of the Game of the Year contenders at this year's Game Awards. So go check out CloudQuest if you want to hear our breakdown of where we think that'll perform and land this coming Thursday. But just in general, it's getting to that busy time of year. Of course, everyone out there is buying games, playing games, thinking of playing games over Christmas, Game of the Year awards.
Wishing the way that works so they could be at home playing games. Yeah,
everything. Just video game. Of course, we'll play plenty more on the channel. What was I going to say? There was something else video game related, but it's eluding me right now. I'm sure I'll come back around to it. Richie, plenty of PlayStation news this particular week, of course, as we trickle into the month of December. And I've remembered what I was going to say now. You mentioned the World Cup. This recording actually goes live after Sunday. Tonight we're going to watch the footy. We don't know how England. I know USA went out last night, so commiserations to our friends stateside watching. You had an absolute fantastic run, and more importantly, I can't wait for them to host the next World Cup alongside Canada and Mexico. It's going to be a fantastic competition. Can't wait for that one in 4 years. But until then, Richie, what was your prediction for the England-Senegal match? It's happened. It was in the past for us now. We have no idea.
I'm thinking 2-1.
2-1 to
England. I think they'll get a goal. We'll be 2-0 up. We'll sit back, and then someone will make a mistake and they'll capitalise.
Okay.
And then there'll be a nervy finish to the game.
It won't be easy. I'm going to go 3-0 England. Just confidently putting it out there with all that bravado. Because it should...
I hope you're right.
I hope I'm right as well, but either way, we'll find out at the pub later on. Let us know in the comments below if the match was a shit show or not. With England, it's always one of those things. But we'll find out soon enough. Moving back to video games, though, in Rob's absence, we should probably point out Rob was intended to be back this week. Of course, last week he was crazy busy with Black Friday stuff and his own work life. This week he's got food poisoning. He gone and got himself done dirty by some yucky food.
Late night takeaway pizza's killed him.
Yeah.
I say killed him. He's alive.
It's just not well enough to sit on camera and talk video games for several hours as we get these recordings in the bag. But yes, get well soon, Rob. You'll be back next week. Get it all up, lad, as they say. Richie, so in Rob's absence, you'll have to do us the honours of introducing us to the
properly prepared PlayStation perusing points, aka
the news. News, Christmas news. Of course, we're into December, so kicking things off with story number 1 of the week. December's PlayStation Plus essential games to claim have been leaked, and they've since been confirmed. So none other than PlayStation's official European Twitter account leaked the lineup, which of course every time these leaks happen from any kind of official channel, they're true. They're just obviously sent out too early.
Do you think someone forgot to hit schedule? Just
it happens time and time again. Remember, it was like PlayStation Japan tweeted out the image of when Housemarque was going to be acquired by that's like an entire acquisition leaked purely because the key art was just published at 6 hours early or a day early or something. But that's the world we live in with the internet. So, first up...
What they need to do, Elon needs to do, is make it easier to schedule tweets so you don't have to go through a few menus. That when you got the tweet button, just have a schedule button next to it.
And maybe allow us to do them on mobile as well.
And edit our tweets without
and edit our tweets.
Fee.
And
not burn the platform to the ground.
That too. But thankfully, we talk about the PlayStation platform and several games to claim. Let's get into them. Game number 1, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which is a terrific game. That's 3 games in one. You are getting the remastered version of Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, of course, BioWare's classic, groundbreaking sci-fi space opera epic in all its glory, with all of the audio issues hopefully resolved after Richie tried to check this one out last summer. Yes, jump in, claim it, take control of Commander Shepard in one of my favourite franchises of all time that I only discovered last year, and it's like now I'm absolutely hyped as anything for the next one. Glitches and bugs aside, Richie, because I think you've said probably about 50 times on various shows the issues you've hampered with this. In terms of claiming this as one of your games for the month, obviously we both own it now. Crack and get right out the gate there for December, right? Enjoy Christmas by playing through 3 of the most revered video games of all time.
Yeah, 100%. I only played through the first Mass Effect. I didn't finish it because I got a game-breaking bug. But I've decided not to let that sour me on the series as a whole and just go, you know what, I bought it day 1. I got a broken mess. I do intend to go back and play through 2 and 3 later because I do believe there is a decent step up in quality from 1 to 2. But I just haven't had the motivation all the time to actually do that because the experience was a bit sour before. Like, I do want to play it, but it's like no longer high on the agenda.
Yeah, it's kind of missed its
window. It's a shame for me personally,
yeah.
But I still recommend people give it a go because it is one of the greatest game series of all time.
Yeah, and it was one of those where I think I found a time window. Was it last year or this year? Must have been last year, right? They wouldn't give it away for free if it was this year. Yeah, it feels like this year though. Never played Mass Effect before. Seen a little bit of Andromeda around a friend's house, and yeah, I just thought this is the perfect. This is why I love remasters and collections, because it's the perfect opportunity for someone who's not experienced it before to get on.
I wish it was a remake rather than a remaster.
Yeah, absolutely. But it doesn't deter from it too much. As much as it is like stepping back in time a little bit. Yeah. It was almost quite nostalgic to go back to a video game that played quite clunky and awkward to start with, but then as you kind of familiarise yourself with it and the way it works and the dialogue options and the way the action mechanics and maybe aren't as streamlined as you've come to terms with nowadays,
you have to look past the jank and focus on the narrative and the world that you're exploring. That's
a good way of looking at it. And the world you're exploring, or the universe in which you're exploring as well, is absolutely terrific. I had such a good time with it. But yeah, three games to claim. So I guess when on the front of this one, it does look like you're getting just the one game, but you're really getting 3 like full, massive 30.
Yeah, these were free when they initially came out. These were free AAA experiences. Mm-hmm. So like, yes, the remasters, but yeah, I think it's a good get.
Definitely a good get. Second up on our list for claimable games for December, we have Biomutant. as well, which is the game with the little squirrely rat creature you probably saw come out again, probably last year, not too far from around that time. Biomutant's one that I feel like had a little bit of hype to it, and then it kind of got lost a little bit. And then now almost like it was one of those forgotten games. I do remember the narrator over the top of it was apparently criticised for just never shutting up and talking too much. But Biomutant, it was one that it piqued my interest, probably just because of the little creatures in the world. I'm thinking, what am I doing running around as this kind of like foxy squirrel thing? And I feel like it did well for what it was. We probably will see a sequel to it. Where do you stand on the whole Biomutant front?
I think this one was a victim of its own hype, to be honest, where I think it got panned a bit because people built it up to be something that it never was. It looks fine. Whenever I saw it, I think it has fine's the right word. I think for it, it looks distinctly fine. There's a bit Fortnite-y like elements to some of, especially in some of the menus when you look at it, and it's like, so they're leaning into that like younger audience aesthetic a bit.
Yeah, from THQ Nordic and Saber Interactive. Open world, post-apocalyptic, but they describe it as a kung fu fable RPG with unique martial arts style combat, allowing you to mix melee shooting and mutant ability action together. So you kind of got like powers and such. It strikes me of almost like a Monster Hunter inspired world where you're going out there and just fighting random creatures and bit of platforming inspired. But yeah, it got quite well reviewed. I wouldn't say phenomenal. It didn't win any major awards and stuff, but
it's a 7 out of 10 game.
Yeah, I'd say that fits it right, of course. Interesting, but again, nice one to claim on both PlayStation 4 and 5. So
I think that's probably why it's got forgotten about, because 7 out of 10s as games are perfectly serviceable. You're gonna have a good time with it, but they exist in a world where there's lots of 8s and 9s.
Yeah, you got to really push yourself, haven't you, for that one?
And sometimes even 10s. So it's like, do I have the time or the inclination to play this game? Which I probably would enjoy, but would I enjoy it when it's coming out against, well,
everything else?
At the moment, I'm playing God of War, I'm playing Pokemon. Would I enjoy this game more than both of them? It's like, no, probably not.
That's it.
I'm glad it's coming to PS Plus, because they might get more people will get their hands on it, but I think it's doomed to just sit in my library.
Yeah, it's almost like one of those perfect subscription model games as well. Perfect for Game Pass, perfect for PlayStation Plus, where you probably wouldn't have otherwise purchased it at full price, but you're more than happy to check it out on a subscription model of some sort. So it adds value. Let us know below in the comments if you'll be checking out Biomutant over Mass Effect. I guess that's the kind of the crux of it as well, as if you're not even going to be the best game on the list of games that's out this month for free. No. Like, if you're going to check out Biomutant over Mass Effect, says a lot.
I mean, they're very different games, so I think it's just like which game suits you the best. But
that's not the last one.
I think it would have done better if it come out in a quieter month.
Yeah, December. That's true. But moving on, we've also got another game coming straight into PlayStation Plus. KO the Gods and the world's only third-person platform fighter. Become a small but mighty god of myth, brawl in all 3 dimensions, and knock your friends off the map to reign supreme. So we've got essentially a 3D Smash Bros. Brawler. Multiplayer action, evolving battlegrounds, godly powers, game modes for all, and cross-platform. DKO or Divine Knockout. How does this one strike you, Rich? I've never seen this one before. I'm just watching the trailer now.
Yeah, I'm watching some footage. It looks fun. It looks quite chaotic. I think the way you put it as a free Smash but in 3D seems about right.
It does look
probably
like
closer to Brawlhalla than Smash.
Yeah.
But, well, they are very, very similar games.
It is just that 3D element, isn't it, really? That does mix it up significantly enough. There's plenty of powers and stuff to be had.
Yeah.
There's no necessary IP skin over this game. But it strikes me as no different if Nintendo just came out and said, oh, we're going to do a Smash Bros., but your perspective's 3D instead. So it does add, obviously, a massive difference in dynamic to it, because people can attack you from any which way, off camera, more importantly, whereas Smash Bros., most of its success just comes from you can see all the characters at once on the screen. So, yeah, available on PlayStation Plus now.
I think it could be a fun stream in this, actually. It
could
doesn't
very well
look like
be.
a sort of fighting game where if you don't know the controls, you're screwed. Like, it does look like this is just intended to be chaotic fun.
Chaotic fun. That could be the name of the sequel. Chaotic fun. Something like that, along those lines. Either way, there's your games to claim for the month of December. PlayStation Plus, again, essential. We'll no doubt get an update probably in about 10 days' time with what premium games there are to play and stream as PlayStation still meander through the world of figuring out what their PlayStation Plus tiers look like. But you know what? Mass Effect Legendary Edition, terrific. 3 cracking titles there. Biomutant and Divine Knockout, claimable right. I guess right now. Did they say a date? It was leaked. What's the date? It's the 4th of December. Usually they're able to claim beginning of the month upwards towards the 6th or 5th, I think. If not, you've got
6th for December.
There you go. Cool.
Which
claim them now.
is
Today.
When
That
this
is
goes
today,
live. Yeah. Literally, go do it now.
Go do it now if you haven't done so already. And if you've not claimed last month's games, you've missed out. Sorry. Next up on the dock, we've got story number 2. Far Cry 6 surprised us out of nowhere. We discussed it on last week's show. They put out a tease saying there was going to be a stream this past week, adding a big expansion to Far Cry 6, which, again, not a standalone title, not another entry in the Far Cry world, but more just DLC expansion. And we got a trailer for Far Cry 6 Lost Between Worlds, a Ubisoft original, and it's unveiled that it's a full new expansion for Far Cry 6 that will whisk players away to a fractured alien version of Yara, and it will launch on December 6th. So today. It's out now. Lost Between Worlds, surreal extraterrestrial action begins when Far Cry 6 protagonist Danny Rojas inadvertently stumbles across a crashed alien spaceship, inhabited by an alien AI known as FAI. Unfortunately for Danny, FAI immediately seals the surrounding area and demands they embark on a quest to retrieve 5 crystals needed to repair their ship, each one hidden away in a mysterious rift containing a fractured simulation of Yara. Essentially, Richie, it's familiar map that I mentioned we probably expect to see, but with this new surreal kaleidoscope, purple skin over it, underwater, lightning storms, rifts popping up all over the place, shit falling out the sky, but of course with that typical Far Cry combat, weapons and such like that. This reminds me, like, visually, I'm trying to think, it's got Blood Dragon vibes to it because of all the nature of the bright colours, but almost like, I want to say Crisis mixed in with it a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. It does see... I think surreal is the right word for this.
Everyone's got crystals on them.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of alien theme they've gone for. 20 quid or 19.99 are available now. They haven't really indicated how long it's going to last. Of course, we're still expecting
stuff like this.
Yeah, I'm still expecting this Game of the Year edition that they mentioned as well. Existing Far Cry players can purchase it for £17.99, $20, and there's also an upgrade pass including the expansion from the previous version. And our newcomers can grab the Game of the Year edition containing the base game, season pass, and the expansion, which costs $49.99, which is 60% off its usual price, because of course the usual price is like 120 plus the markup. But yeah, they've also updated another free update for Far Cry 6 that's going to add New Game Plus mode, completionist feature, and little additive things to help players basically track their progress and such, and see if they can find out collectibles that they're missing a little bit easier. More just like quality of life improvements, but overall, I'm happy to see more Far Cry 6. In a weird way, I don't feel hyped for it, but when I watched the trailer, I was like, I could just go for some more Far Cry right now.
See, you're in a position where you've just finished a game, though, so that might be it. It's like, you know what? I want something, just a palate cleanser. And Far Cry, very different from God of War.
Yeah,
so if you just want to jump in and shoot some stuff for a bit.
Yes, $17.99 to check out. Because, again, usually Ubisoft, they don't do these quite lightly. It does look like... It actually looks as though they've took a lot of inspiration from the Stranger Things free content that you and me checked out on the channel. There's a look of that available now to watch if you want to go view that. But we've theorized before what this could look like, and I think it was maybe even last week's show, we said about a whole Far Cry 6 game in the Stranger Things world could work, because you just take the same world and make it all like grimy and upside downy as inspired by the TV show, And that's almost the exact same thing they've done with this, but instead of the portals into the Upside Down, it's a portal into this space rift. And instead of goop, they've just added crystals to everything. And I guess from an asset point of view, it's quite easy to just take and model asset like a villain or a gun or a weapon or a building and add like some kind of crystallized skin over the top of it. Change the color palette out so you've got like purple, red, blue. They're your different enemy classes, but they're just big crystal monsters essentially. And it's the same gameplay you know and love. Maybe tweak the weapons up a little bit, add a new one or two. And it's again, I guess it's the cheapest version of DLC you could possibly do whilst at the same time making it look completely different.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels more like, I like the word expansion for this sort of thing rather than DLC. Because when I think DLC, I think of like, oh, you're just downloading a new skin for your gun.
Yeah.
You're paying 99 pence for it. Where this is like, it is like, here is more actual story content, so you can continue Danny's adventure in this Lost Between Worlds thing. So you're getting new story content, new environments, new enemy types, new weapons. Like it doesn't feel just like, oh, we're just adding a bit more to what you've already got. It's like, here we're expanding in a cool, interesting direction.
Yeah, there's a few extra details listed in here which may take me out of it a little bit. It says in the Eurogamer article, combat is also a little different to the Far Cry 6 norm, utilising a colour matching mechanic that sees players swapping between red and blue ammo on the fly to take down enemies of the same colour. So it looks like there's some kind of like rift powers, like blue crystals are taken down by red crystals, kind of like elemental almost. And based on the details shared during this week's live stream, Lost Between Worlds appears to also have a touch of roguelike about it, with players needing to traverse rifts more than once, getting stronger and receiving new gear with each successfully retrieved crystal from within the rifts. Finding glints within a rift enables players to jump to that point in the future, and acquiring the lights of a rift key will let them open doors in each rift to create shortcuts that to make persistent subsequent run-throughs. So kind of a bit like in God of War, where you unlock like a fence or a ladder and something, and it lets you loop back around a little bit quicker for later versions.
Yeah.
When it says roguelike, that has me worried for like, don't tell me I'm losing all my shit again like I was in the season pass, because that I feel like was quite lazy.
It's clear that that Ubisoft in general, they're trying to experiment with their format of the games a bit, and I think as an expansion to a game that people already have, this is probably the right way to expand as well. And it doesn't feel like, oh, we're just going to create a roguelike so you can just go play that. It feels like there's elements of roguelike stuff, like when you enter these rifts where, okay, now this is a bit of a roguelike situation. I don't expect you to lose absolutely all your progression and have to start from square one every time.
Yeah.
But,
I hope not. But we'll see. It's available now, of course, if you're a big Far Cry fan. Who doesn't love some more Far Cry? It's out there and available now. Lost Between Worlds. Moving on to the next story of the week. Callisto Protocol launched December the 2nd. Of course, the next game from the Dead Space veteran Glenn Schofield, debuting at his new studio Striking Distance, part of the PUBG people, Crafton and such. It's out. It's being reviewed. And the reviews seem quite okay. Definitely, I'd say a probably 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 game seems to be the general consensus for this one.
It seems to be mixed. In the sense of not like, oh yeah, everyone's saying 7, 8 out of 10. It seems like some people are going 9, others are going 5.
Like one or the other. Marmite.
10s for threes. It's like, yeah, it seems to be like. And when you have read some of the reviews, it's like a lot of the reviews comes out of like I think it's subjective. A lot of this stuff where it's like, some people saying it doesn't really do much to bring the genre forward, but other people are reviewing the same game going, this is exactly what I want from the genre.
It's a triumph in horror, that kind of thing. And again, I think horror games are probably more divisive anyway, because if you don't like being scared and you don't like dark environments, it's very easy to just write these games off.
Yeah, it's one of these awkward situations where I think the reviews aren't going to really help people that much make the decision, because they are that kind of like spread out over how different reviewers have kind of like experienced the game, unless you know the reviewers like tastes quite well and know how you align compared to them. It's like I don't know much about Ralph from Skill Up, but he doesn't recommend this.
Yeah, there's a few. I'm just looking at a few of the reviews now. Like Game Reactor gave
Okay.
it a 9 out of 10. They say the Callisto Protocol is a triumph, not only because it refuses to include some of the both predatory and bloated mechanics and systems of game design that you see today, but because it's an entertaining thrill ride which reaches its goals thanks to the balance between ambition and practical grasp. Looking beautiful, superbly acted, nicely put together, and a deep-seated atmosphere during tense moments. They've made a damn good game. But then you said, like skill up. Very little way of story, characters, or horror. Oppressively linear, terrible combat that excels in frustrating you, and absolutely woeful PC performance. So, he just says skip the game.
You got GameSpot overall individual elements of Callisto Protocol at odds with one another too often. The enemy design and melee-focused combat mechanics lend themselves to these incredibly tense and fun close quarters brawls when you're only fighting against a couple of targets at a time, but the game regularly locks you into frantic mosh pits or frustrating, difficult boss fights instead. It gives it a 5. So it seems to be like, well, he seems to be... GameSpot seems to be focused on like the action elements of it. Like going, well, actually, as an action game, the mechanics would be better suited to like smaller numbers of enemies rather than these like almost like sounds like almost Doom-esque.
Yeah,
like levels of chaos. So it's like, does it hit for it? Does seem to be one of them? Is it landing for some people? Some people it is, some people it isn't.
Yeah, I think IGN sums it up probably the best because they're kind of middle of the road. They gave it a 7 out of 10. The Callisto Protocol is a satisfying, gory spiritual successor to the Dead Space series, but it's ultimately more of a striking modern mimic than a scary new mutation. So it kind of sounds like if you were a fan of Dead Space, you'll enjoy this. If not so much, it's more of the same in a way. So it's, I guess, again, it all falls down just to like subjectively what you're interested in and what you're in the mood for. But it sounds like if you're a big horror fan, you probably enjoy it. Sounds like if you didn't enjoy Dead Space or kind of slow, meandering, dark games with repetitive villains and mechanics, then you're probably not so much. But it doesn't seem like it's done terribly bad, although apparently on PC it does perform poorly. And I think some of the options for maybe checkpoint saves are becoming frustrating for some people, where if you die, it takes you right back to like a certain place with the same ammo that you failed on your first run through. So you kind of get stuck in this loop of just death and repeat. And
that's survival horror, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So
that's the trope of the genre. Like, that's the Resident Evil games right from the origins have had stuff like that, where you have to go back. If you die, it's game over. You have to just go back to your last save at the last typewriter, and it just takes you back to exactly where you left off.
That's true. So, yeah, again, I think if you're a fan, you'll enjoy it. Striking Distance also did provide a time frame so for some Callisto Protocol post-launch content. There is some upcoming free DLC, including New Game Plus and Hardcore Mode. They're going to be available from February the 7th. And then as part of the Callisto Protocol Season Pass, which I didn't know was a thing, players will be able to get their hands on the Outerwear Skin Collection, the Contagion Bundle coming in March, and the Riot Bundle coming in the spring. The Riot Bundle is going to include a new wave-based mode in a new undiscovered area set within the prison in the story. And they've also said they're going to share further details soon and perhaps more death animations. Did you see the death animations were kept behind the Season Pass content?
No,
by the way.
I didn't see that.
It was one of those last-minute updates that came out before the game launched, but essentially some of the death animations were locked behind buying the Season Pass.
Oh, that's not good, guys. You don't do that.
Weird, isn't it? Just an odd microtransaction practice to
that's like Sonic Origins menu music sort of shit.
Yeah, like what a thing to try and monetize, but yeah. Either way, it seems to be a decent game, and it's got some continual legs. I am curious to know if the Season Pass content is kind of a way to feed off the back of the Dead Space launch in the new year. You like just keep people talking about Callisto Protocol, so when Dead Space Remake comes out, when inevitably Callisto is probably going to be a lot cheaper because it's been out for several months at that point, it might be like a nice thing going, you like Dead Space, you want to check out Dead Space, well, forget the remake, we've got like the Season Pass DLC, everything's here, bells and whistles version, and it's half the price of Dead Space. You know what I mean? To kind of keep the story alive.
Yeah, I think unfortunately for the devs, for crafting, I think this is not going to be the big hit that they were hoping it would be. And now it's kind of advantage Dead Space almost in a way. I think coming out first when you got two games within 2 months of a very similar genre, and well, literally, Callisto Protocol is inspired by Dead Space. There's no like
The director worked on Dead Space. Like, it's literally the same.
Yeah,
guy,
yeah. It's like for this to come out first, and it just feels like it hasn't quite stuck the landing. So it has for some people, but at the time of recording, the Metacritic 76.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So it's not bad, but in terms of like that's so EA making the next Dead Space will probably look at that score and go, "We can beat this."
Yeah, and again, gamers can be quite fickle. I can be quite fickle when it comes to it, but upon like last week when it launched, and I started seeing some of the reviews, and I listened to a few gaming podcasts talk about it, and then I very was quickly like, oh, maybe this isn't for me. Like, again, I'm not one for, like, we're not ones for horror, but I was thinking, do we do it on streaming somewhere? But then I'm thinking of like costs and time, and it's Christmas, and I've got other shit to buy right now, and then that adult part of my voice kicked in and said, you've also not got that much time you think you've got. Could I dedicate it to a game I've never played before and it's getting 7 out of 10s, 5 out of 10s in some places? Or do I just hang fire for Dead Space that is critically acclaimed from the last time but built from the ground up? Seems like a better bet to bank on, if you get me.
Yeah.
And here we are. Didn't buy
Crafton as well, they don't have a huge track record in the industry yet.
No. Well, this is striking distance's first game, so...
Yeah, this was... So, I mean, I hope them well. Hopefully, maybe a few fixes, like some of these, like 7s might jump up to 8s. And I think it does seem to be like, look at it, look at the game, look at the reviews. Don't just look at the score. Actually read the reviews and go decide for yourself. It does feel like you need to do that more research rather than good or bad.
Absolutely. But no taking away the credit deserved for a brand new studio putting out a game that looks this gorgeous.
Yeah.
And your own lore, your own, like, obviously leaning into a lot of what you knew beforehand. But yeah, this is essentially an indie studio putting out a game of this quality. So, of course, it needs improving on PC, but still, shout out where shout's due.
Again, I'm always skeptical with them sort of claims on PC because without digging too much into the reviews, like, what hardware are you using? Like, PC's hardware is vast and weird.
Well, a lot of them are people who've got, like, the top graphics cards and stuff, still saying there's something fundamentally wrong in the coding that's causing the problems.
Yeah.
But again, we could go all day into that. What I'd rather do is go back in time to the PSP era, Richie. Next up, Battlefront 2. Not 2015's Star Wars Battlefront 2, but the original PSP Battlefront 2. Of course, it was available on PlayStation 2 and PlayStation Portable, and it seems likely that the PSP version of Star Wars Battlefront 2 is going to be adapted for PS5 and PS4 and given out as a PlayStation Plus Premium member in the future, quite possibly later on this month. The classic shooter has appeared on the PlayStation Store as a classic title. The game has been updated with up-rendering, rewind, quick save, and custom video filters. And while it did release on PlayStation 2, it appears Sony has opted for some reason to bring the PSP version over to modern consoles instead. The title has been converted from the PSP version to PlayStation 4 and 5 consoles and provides newly added features, it says in the official listing. Consequently, there may be times when the title plays differently from the PSP version, or where some features may cause the title to not function properly because the nature of the port, I guess. Sony is set to announce the latest PlayStation Plus Premium games later this month, as I mentioned when we went through the list of games. So it's likely Star Wars Battlefront 2 will be there. Joins the likes of Siphon Filter 3, Dino Crisis, Ridge Racer, Resistance Retribution, Soul Calibur, waiting in the wings. So this is obviously official. It was there in an official listing on the PlayStation Store. I have a shit ton of time for this game. I played the death out of it on my PlayStation Portable back in the day, and I absolutely adored it. I'm trying to just see if I've actually got it. I do have it right there. Within arm's reach, Richie. I can get it in a second. Just for when we come back for the people on video feeds. But yeah, I don't know why it's the PSV version, but Star Wars Battlefront 2, terrific game. Of course, we played a lot together of Star Wars Battlefront 2, the 2015 version. 2015? That seems really early. Maybe 2017. Either way,
The second Star Wars Battlefront
the follow-up to that one, the microtransaction-ridden one. Fight more of the greatest Star Wars battles anywhere you want. For the first time, Star Wars Battlefront 2 lets you fight anywhere you want. Fight as a Jedi. Battle in space. Play 13 new locations. Great game. But also weird that we get this one.
What's the difference between the PSP and PS2 version?
So I don't think the PSP version had some of the features. I think you could do like Galactic Conquest on the PS2 version, where you essentially it was like a skirmish campaign where you picked a planet and then the enemy would have they would sit at the opposite end of the galaxy, and you'd basically just fight for territory and do like planet after planet was a mission essentially. And when you won it, you planted a flag in it, it was yours, and then at the same time each turn the enemy would take planets, and eventually you'd have to just galactic conquest the shit out of the whole galaxy, essentially. And it'd all be good, all be bad, and you could play as either side. It was many, many years ago when I played, so as a daft kid, the PSP version just felt like the PS2 version portable. I'm guessing there's no online features, although back then you'll have probably needed what was the internet box called for the PS2? It was like the internet network adapter, like the internet brick that you attach on the side. I mean, I absolutely loved the reboot. I don't know how well this will play in 2022, but I'm excited to check it out. More Star Wars Battlefront. I don't know why they're doing a PSP version. There'll
be some like sort of practicality reason behind it. Maybe it's just an easier port. Maybe the emulator is better. Maybe they just don't even have the source code for the PS2 version or something weird like that.
That is true. We got to check it out though. Did you play the original one?
I may have played it around yours or something, but I didn't own it.
If it comes with multiplayer, we've got to jump on and do a galactic conquest together. Yeah. Just like, let's rule the galaxy together, father and son. We'll decide who's who later on in the room.
Yeah, I was going to say, like,
My Apprentice. I will say, what did I watch the other day that was like so funny? Oh, so I watched It's Christmas. So in my house, we've started watching Christmas movies, and I checked out Disney's Christmas Carol, the CGI one from like I think it was like 2009 with Jim Carrey as Ebenezer Scrooge, and. What the funniest thing was one, the animation is very Polar Express, so it's very dated in 2009, and it doesn't quite hold up to today's animation standards. There were some interesting things. Ghost of Christmas Past, also played by Jim Carrey, but he's like some weird floaty Irish candle. Doesn't do a good Irish impression, Jim Carrey, I'm just going to say that now. But at the same time, bit creepy. What I did notice is when he plays the character of Ebenezer Scrooge, I challenge anyone this Christmas to watch that movie and not just hear the Emperor. Because Jim Carrey trying to do a British old man impression it just came across as Darth Sidious, and everything he was saying was so funny. And when he went back in time, he kept saying lines that would be Sidious saying. So when he goes back in time and sees himself as a child in school, he looks at it and goes, "Oh, I was an apprentice here," and I'm like, he just said like the line that Sidious would say, and he's like, "No, it's just yeah." I challenge anyone out there, go watch A Christmas Carol. It's on Disney Plus right now. Scrooge literally is Darth Sidious.
Yeah, I actually watched the Guardians Christmas special last night.
Oh yeah, enjoy it.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's a good 40 minutes worth of Christmas viewing. Something new.
It's worth watching.
It is, especially if you're a Guardians fan. Guardians of the Galaxy, but not this galaxy. A long time ago, far, far away. When are we getting a new Star Wars movie? Feels like it's been a long time.
Know.
But while we wait for a Star Wars movie, how about a Starship Troopers game? Not confirmed for PlayStation yet. I did kind of want to get this added in for Rob because I know he's a big Starship Troopers fan. Where do you sit on
the? To know more?
Sorry, he's not. Rob is no more.
Would you like to know more?
Oh, would you like to know more? I said Rob is no more. I was like, wow, that food poisoning took a turn 40 minutes into this show. Where are you on Starship Troopers?
I really enjoy the first film, but I don't understand why there's more films than that exist.
Right.
It's a cult classic, like indie budget film, and they decided to try and franchise it, and it's just like, what you doing?
Yeah.
The game could be awesome though.
It could, yeah. So I think we're all the same. I think everyone's the same. If you're a Starship Troopers fan, you're predominantly a fan of the first movie. Everything after that you don't really give a shit. You watched it, it didn't take. They did an animated version of it. They've tried some things, didn't really work. But the concept of Starship Troopers for me has always been perfect for a video game. You've got random planets. You've got plenty of random cannon fodder enemies in terms of the arachnids and whatever they're called on Klendafu, I think the planet's called. And there's multiple ones. Humans going out with modern weapons, taking them down. It's essentially just warfare in space against creatures that you don't give a shit about killing. And out of nowhere, Off-World Industries have unveiled a Starship Troopers Extermination game, which is a 12-player, squad-based co-op first-person shooter. Now, it's coming to Steam. I don't think a game of this type would usually ever just stay on Steam. It seems like perfect for console rollout as well. Inspired, of course, by Paul Verhoeven's cult classic, 1997. And when I saw the story, I just thought, 12-player, squad-based co-op first-person shooter. And I thought of this channel. I thought of our community. I thought of my, Rob, and yours love for the first Starship Troopers and thought, yes, you want to live forever? Let's get out there and just kill some damn bugs. Game looks great. It's probably running in Unreal of some kind, but essentially there's 3 troop classes to pick from: assault, support, defense. They've got their own weapons, equipment, and perks. It's got a base building system mechanic built in to gather resources from inside the planet, construct walls, towers, ammo stations. So it's got all your typical kind of stuff you would expect out of a fighting game. 5 map zones, different planets to go from, different bug types to kill. And I just want to kind of relive my best Starship Troopers life. So, yeah, Richie, you want to live forever? Or would you like to know more?
I would like to know more.
If you'd like to know more, stay tuned to the show, as hopefully it will come from Steam over to PlayStation. But won't spend too much
I genuinely
time.
think there's a potentially a great game in this.
12-player. Like, how many times do we do live streams on a Thursday and go, damn, it's only 4-player. So once you've got you or me, and sometimes even Rob, that leaves like one space for the audience, which I always feel incredibly bad about. But we don't make video games. It seems to be
like based on like 3 squads of 4 players.
Yeah.
Like working together, like to basically do missions within the map. Which, I mean, that means it has scope for expansion as well.
That's true. Our squad name could be Richie's Roughnecks.
Could be. Probably not going to be, but
we'll think of something on the better. Moving on though from that, next story of the week, we've got some Assassin's Creed updates, some final updates for Valhalla for you all. On the back of the Far Cry news, Ubisoft also pointed out that the final content for Assassin's Creed Valhalla is now live on all platforms a week earlier than planned. They actually promoted it as like an error tweet tease where they said there's been a glitch in the animus and the content's available now. So I don't know whether that content was just pushed live early and they thought, forget it, just leave it out there. I expect it's more of an official announcement for this one, but hello, it's there. Surprise tie-in. Eivor story continues. It released early last night. It's out there. You've got your final dollop of Valhalla storyline. Eivor wraps up a time in England and heads off to North America one last time, where the game's opening. You find out. Actually, I'm not going to say that because that might be spoilers for the game. But essentially, it's going to show you a new story, final chapter, and more importantly, it's going to tie in with a character who's going to be in Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is Basim's standalone, smaller story that releases early next year. So it does seem like they're just using this as one final opportunity, Richie, to tie up those threads of Eivor's story, even though I stopped playing this game like a year ago now. I didn't go back for the Ragnarok DLC because I was going to play God of War Ragnarok. But I might go back to it now just to kind of tie me over to Mirage. It's a free story, by the way, and it's out now. Thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, Ubisoft want to keep you involved in their first person games. They're not the first person, they're like single player games. I feel like Valhalla, I feel like they're trying to just drag it out.
Well, they have to, because they've not got another game out yet.
I think we said for having time between games, so it feels like they are just trying to keep adding stuff until we get when the edge of the next game, because Mirage comes out next year, isn't it?
Yeah, they've not said when, so probably April, springtime, we think.
But it feels like we've been talking about Valhalla for years at this, for pretty much the length of the channel, and it's like like, yeah, if you're still playing it, great, but it's like I just lost interest a long time ago, to be honest.
Blame you. From a Ubisoft standpoint, I think with Valhalla generating over $1 billion for Ubisoft since it first came out, it seems like they want to just keep leaning into it to milk it for all it's worth, whilst the rest of their games are seemingly are struggling. Like, how many times they've had they've canned 3 games, right, that were in development. We don't know what the hell's going on with X Defiant and Division Heartland and Beyond Good and Evil and Skull and Bones. It just seems like they must look around at all the studios and think, shit, we've got, out of like the 6 things we've got in active development, 4 of them aren't on track for actually performing the way we want it to. So looking over at good old Valhalla in the corner, good old faithful, trusty companion who's just shitting out money left, right, and centre. It makes sense.
Do more Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
it's the only thing keeping us going.
Do more. And Ubisoft got loads of criticism back in the day for too much Assassin's Creed, with them being annualised and such, and I totally get it, and the industry kind of felt a bit fatigued on it.
But what they've done now is, rather than bring out a new game every year, they've continued the same game for 3 years.
Yeah. It's like a under the radar version.
They haven't changed the problem. They've just, instead of selling you a new game, they've just we'll break up the new we're going like a 2-3 year cycle instead of a 1 year cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And the content we would have put in the interim, we'll just break up into smaller chunks and sell it multiple times across the years.
Smarter way of doing it.
It is, but yeah.
Lots to be said. But if you're not into Valhalla and you're fed up with Valhalla, then why not enjoy some content in Destiny 2 instead? Out of nowhere, just to tack on at the end of this story, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is getting Destiny and Monster Hunter armor. So Ubisoft has officially confirmed that Assassin's Creed and Destiny 2 will have a crossover event, which will see sci-fi armor for sale in Valhalla later this month, as well as Assassin's Creed style armor in Destiny 2. Which, you know what, the key artwork, it looks cool as shit. Like seeing the Assassin stuff in Destiny and vice versa, it kind of works. Like, are Viking helmets and stuff and armor really that different to what they were in Destiny 2 and by proxy the way?
Yeah. Not
at all. Bit random for a 2-year-old game from Ubisoft to randomly reach out and partner with Bungie to put their content across, but yeah, I'm here for it.
I have no idea how this sort of like thing would even happen. Like, what would even instigate the conversation to do this?
I have no idea.
It's got to be like a passion project from someone on one of the teams. Go talk to someone that, like, on one of the other teams, to go like, "Oh, Jim, I really love what you're doing with Destiny." Like, "Oh, Mike, I love Assassin's Creed Valhalla." Like, let's do something together. Let's get you getting your boss. I'll get into my boss. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, let's share some assets. Why not? Video game development's cool. And only in video games could this kind of thing happen as well. Any other medium, like collaboration and stuff like this, you wouldn't expect to see it. So you do love it. Right, let's see. Final few stories of the week that we've got rounding things out. James Gunn, just as a nice little side note for TV shows and such, has came out and confirmed that under his new leadership of the DC universe, it's not expanded universe, not EU anymore, just DCU, video games are going to be part of his plan under his new leadership. So he's confirmed to Eurogamer after he was asked on Twitter, will you incorporate more forms of entertainment down the line? Which he replied, yes, most definitely. The DCU will be connected across film and TV and animation. With another fan then asked and said, what are your plans for the games? And he replied with a simple yes. So not great in-depth detail there from James Gunn, but of course he's a busy man putting out other content across the world. I guess this kind of just leans into, briefly, what does that mean to you, Richie? Because video games are very different. They're developed in a silo almost, a secret place for 4 or 5 years, or in most DC cases 9 years. If you're WB Montreal or Rocksteady, it seems like forever. Obviously, Gotham Knights, the Arkham Suicide Squad, Killer Justice League, they're far too close in proximity to, I think, be part of that world. Let's face it, the Suicide Squad game that's coming up has got nothing to do with James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie that did so well with Idris Elba. So, going forward, do you think this is kind of James just saying, like, it's probably going to be some multiverse spin-off acknowledgement? Because I don't think a video game can ever truly be tied to a cinematic universe without, like, actors' likeness and such, which they're never going to get.
I don't know why you want to do that as well. Bear in mind, the DCEU is hot garbage. It's an absolute mess. I'm in the camp of people who think that what DC should do is not just drop the E, scrap the entire thing, and start again. This time with a bit more of a solid plan, build the foundations properly instead of just rushing to the end and just making an absolute mess of it. Like, there's a way more misses than DC properties can make amazing movies.
Could make amazing money.
We've seen it can make amazing movies, make amazing money, but the DCEU, there's a lot more misses than hits. A lot more.
Do you see the announced Blue Beetle movie? I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, it's like
I don't know who Blue Beetle is, but I saw James Gunn tweeting out a picture of like a random scarab beetle with a blue background saying like 2023.
If they want James Gunn to be their Kevin Feige, they need to just give him a clean slate, I think, to work with. You can use some of the same actors again.
But that's the annoying thing, isn't it?
When you're tying games into it, you're adding another layer of unnecessary complexity.
Yeah.
That you're just going to make life harder for yourself.
Yeah.
And DC already don't have. What's part of the DCEU at the moment? Some films seem like they are. Some films seem they aren't. Some films doing their own thing, but then there'll be crossovers between things that are and aren't. It's a mess.
Yeah. Well, this is where I think they're hoping the Flash movie is going to kind of like just create that multiverse that Marvel have benefited from, where you can just admit that, yes, X-Men exist and they've existed forever, but because of whatever reasons, Patrick Stewart's Professor X has only existed in the last Doctor Strange movie kind of thing, and they need that moment, but they haven't had that luxury yet.
The difference is the X-Men films were, well, yeah, there's a bit of mess in there as well, were kind of generally well received, and Marvel's built up to this point with a huge success story and going, you know what, we're going to bring in some nostalgia. Because now we're talking about multiverse, DC just feel like they're just like throwing things at the wall and hoping something will work.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel planned if they were to use the Flash movie to kind of just retcon everything.
Again, just to go back to the difference between video games and time, it is that just thing of if he, like I said there, Blue Beetle comes out apparently in 2023, whatever the hell it is. Sorry to all the Blue Beetle fans out there. If he gets WB Montreal to work on a Blue Beetle tie-in movie, that's based on their current track record of Arkham Origins to Gotham Knights. That's a 9-year turnaround cycle, which I'm sure WB Montreal will be a lot more efficient on the next one. They've probably got very strict rules in place to say, no, your next entry will not take a decade. It will be 4 years tops to turn it round. That's still 3 years, 2.5 years after the movies came out. So it's like kind of like, what's the relevance? What's the point? And who cares? You'd actually be better, Mr. James Gunn, sir, just overseeing a connected universe in the game world, because that's one of my biggest frustrations with Gotham Knights. Even Gotham Knights isn't tied to the Arkham universe. Arkham Origins, which is a terrific Batman game, not tied to Rocksteady's Arkham trilogy. Which is like, you slipped up on the early doors, let alone trying to do it from now onwards.
I think it's a lot easier for James Gunn to come into DC and go, right, game-wise, we're going to make an interconnected universe, any DC game, unless we give a special dispensation for something really unique and interesting. Mm-hmm. They're all going to be set in the same universe. We're going to build this together.
Yeah.
That's, I think, easier to do than it is with movies, because you can literally just walk in and go, everything that's happened before this point has happened. Anything after this point has to be in this connected universe.
Yeah.
So anyone who pitches a game to us has to fit in the plan. And you can develop it a bit more. You can develop that quite organically, as just you listen to a pitch and goes, actually, that's a cool idea. We can do stuff there. Mm-hmm. But then you'd be going in like with a clean slate, going, right, we need a Superman game, we need a Batman game, we need a Wonder Woman game.
Yeah.
Well, we have a Wonder Woman game coming out. That could be the first one, to be honest. You could make that the first line. Mm-hmm. We're going to build from this Wonder Woman game. We're going to bring out a new Batman game. A new Batman game. It's not, or maybe you could tie in the Arkham games.
Give me a Green Arrow.
You could retcon some of this stuff from other games in together, as long as there's no conflicts there. But I would, to be honest, with a Batman game, to start from fresh now.
Yeah, I agree. It's about time, but we do need Batman in it. I think he's too big of a character to leave just on the cutting room floor as such. But you know what? I hope James Gunn brings around. I hope it ends up being successful for both the movies and stuff, because again, I've enjoyed certain parts of what I've seen of the movies. It just needs to be tighter, and the quality what we expect, I think, as a fan
Burn it
base
to the ground,
now
just burn the whole thing to the ground,
better.
start from fresh. Do it properly this time.
Well, we enjoyed the Batman.
Was the Batman part of the DCEU?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like,
this is my point.
is it like is the
It's
Joker?
confusing.
Joaquin Phoenix's Joker's terrific.
Joker, I
and
don't
yet-
think is.
No, but
Batman, again, when you got a great cast, you got a great director doing something really interesting, the DC films can be phenomenal. But when they've tried to do this connected universe stuff in the past,
Yeah.
they've just made a mess of it. And it feels like they're trying to keep the mess alive.
Yeah.
But they've got a new guy in charge. Give the new guy the clean slate to work with.
yeah, they're very fortunate that their IP prints money just by being what it is, and weirdly enough, by proxy of Marvel's
People
success.
want this to be good.
Yeah, that's why I think, because Marvel does so well, because of the rivalry and such. They want, like, people go see Black Adam predominantly probably because of The Rock, and probably because it's like, oh, it's a DC thing which is combating the Marvel movies that you've gone to see, and people like to compare and look at it. What I do hope for it all is that we just get just some kind of like big end game moment, to a point where in our lifetime, Richie, I do think we will see an Avengers versus Justice League movie.
What they should do, if they want to keep the DCEU alive, not just scrap everything they've done before and be able to keep some of the cast, you need your endgame moment. Just push to that endgame moment where they kind of like rewrite the universe gets broken, they rewrite and show the stuff in the comics that it can give on, and then it gives you a clean slate going forward after that.
Yeah.
Where you could have Henry Cavill as Superman, but this is not the same Clark Kent that we've seen in the DC so far. This is a different universe's one.
Absolutely. But moving things on, 2 final points of the week, just nice little fun ones here. Richie, did you realise Kratos is canon with the MCU? Speaking of DCU.
I did not.
Did you not? Well, spoilers for what you've already watched, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. But there was a moment, again, leave the show now, go home, when they're taking photos outside of the Chinese theatre in LA, and someone takes a picture with Drax and Mantis, and they go like, oh, that was the God of War, and then they walk off. So Kratos is canon God of War, but they think it's Drax, which I thought was quite funny, because I guess it's a guy with his top off, big muscles, painted skin, tattoos, scars. It's the God.
I caught that moment. To be honest, well, I didn't. I thought it must mean something I missed when I saw it in the show notes. It's like, oh wait, because that's just it's not Kratos as canon in the MCU. It's God of War the game is canon in the MCU.
I just think that's cool. Could you imagine that though? You've got what? So in Thor Love and Thunder, Richie, Gore the God Butcher got criticised for not actually killing any gods on screen by the first one. Imagine if the whole time Gore actually recruited Kratos as just to go kill all these gods, and somewhere out there in the world, while Thor's distracted by all these murders, it's actually Kratos taking down the giant ice wolf and all these other things in the background with the help of Atreus. That'd be cool. Yeah. If only. Could you imagine that? Crossover with that. Get Kratos. Get Christopher Judge in.
Thor met Thor?
Yeah. That too, yeah. Yeah. Thor was great in Thor in Ragnarok, the voice actor. Didn't he just sound like Thanos, like Josh Brolin?
A bit, yeah.
So much, which in my mind, that added a lot of gravitas to every line he was delivering, because he had that such deep, gravelly voice. I loved it. Either way. Final one, rounding things out for this fantastic episode of Talking the PS. We're both big fans of Uncharted, one of Sony's flagship IP. Can't wait for them, hopefully at the Game Awards, to announce something new. It's back in a form that I never expected to say, and that is a theme park ride. If you visit Barcelona's Port Aventura world next year, I'd say it's Barcelona's Port Aventura. It's not in Barcelona. It's like 50-minute drive, right? It's in Salou. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Either way, Port Aventura in Spain put out a teaser on their Twitter page, which is kind of just a short video. It was just words. Didn't really show anything off. And mid-2023, an officially licensed Uncharted ride is a multi-dimensional dark roller coaster ride which will take riders on an immersive and exciting adventure through unexplored territories in the search of one of the greatest treasures never found. I don't know what this is, but it's going to be apparently a roller coaster. Will feature 700 meters of track reaching up to 12 meters in height and incorporate 5 launches with up to 1 g of acceleration. And that's about as far as we've got. Richie, we've both visited Port Aventura. It's a good little theme park, actually. Really enjoy it. Really like the theme. It's going to be apparently in the Western World area. So if you remember
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's exploring kind of thing. I don't know, what would you expect to see out of an Uncharted roller coaster?
I don't know, because Uncharted does these big set piece stuff, but you're typically on foot during the big set pieces. There's occasionally times when you're in a car. I suppose it could be like a minecart thing.
Yeah, everyone defaults to Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom.
Well, yeah, Indiana Jones is the inspiration for Uncharted. I don't know. Maybe it could... I really don't know what to expect from that.
I'm thinking... So, Sony Pictures have quoted as saying it's a thrilling indoor coaster. It'll give riders the chance to step into Nathan Sully's shoes and go on their own white-knuckle treasure hunting race. So, I'm thinking of that part of the theme park is kind of very like Western, so there's like vulture animatronics kicking around, there's loads of like sand and skeletons and saloon style buildings, like loads of old dry wood kicking around. I guess in my mind, I always default to that big kind of temple entrance with like weeds and jungle area around it. And I guess it depends what the wider plan for the park is. Like, are they keeping it traditional Western, like cowboys and such, or are they changing it into...
Seems like they're expanding a bit.
Yeah, are they changing it into like abandoned old school place? Like, are fans going to see like runes and stuff carved in the walls? Is there going to be animatronics of some sort? It doesn't seem like it's linked to a particular movie or video game. Like, we know Tom Holland's and Mark Wahlberg's was out, but they haven't really said it's linked to a particular thing, other than maybe the name just lends itself well. Like Uncharted, the ride.
It might just be like a small like vignette, like they've created a small like story as a like, right? You know, when you go on a roller coaster and there's a lot of stuff you do before you get on the roller coaster, so it's more of an experience. So like as you're queuing up, you're learning about the law, and there's got the video screens and stuff up, like
play the music.
So you learn about what this, the actual music going on, and then the set piece moment is when you get on the coaster.
Yeah,
it could be one of them sort of situations.
Yeah. I mean, there is obviously only so much you can do with a roller coaster. Some ups, some downs, some loops in the dark, that kind of thing.
Bit left, go a bit right, and you always just end up back where you started anyway.
You do. But that is usually the case, yeah. It's just a big fun circle. But either way, Uncharted, the ride, coming to Port Aventura, Salou in Spain, some point early next year. No doubt we'll cover it on the show when it actually does get announced, and we can actually see video footage of it and see what that's
Become
about.
A member and you can send us there.
We can go back, we can go back. There's a good couple
grab a GoPro.
Good couple of bars. We were very drunk in Salou. Not on the theme park, but in and around that area when we went on holiday.
True, we actually weren't drunk. We did not drink in the theme park.
I don't think we were allowed. I don't remember getting a beer or anything while we were walking around.
I'm sure there's places you can pick them up.
Maybe it was just too expensive. But either way, I remember getting a really nice waffle with chocolate on it for breakfast, and then I had a bottle of Powerade, like a typical like child's breakfast at a theme park. Chocolate, waffles, and blue Powerade to keep me going through the day.
What did you have for breakfast this morning? Chocolate waffles and Powerade.
You know what? Many years later, my breakfast morning actually comprised of yesterday's leftover brookie bites, which is the brownie and cookie dough bites.
Yeah,
and a can of Monster because I slept in and we.
So it's not dissimilar.
It's not too dissimilar, even though I'm not at a theme park. Yes, my intention is in the new year to have like a health kick, similar to yourself, where I actually like stop having energy drinks, drink a lot more water instead, and just try and look after myself.
I've been terrible this week.
See, in my mind, I'm telling myself it's just. You just see it out to the end of the year now. Like, just enjoy Christmas, enjoy New Year, eat what the fuck you want, drink what the fuck you want. And then come January 1st, you have to start looking after yourself.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Checking out Tim Hortons for breakfast was quite nice.
That's quite a while away, though, to get just breakfast. But
yeah, I mean, I was heading that sort of direction anyway, so that's... Yeah.
But...
Yeah, I was heading not far, so it was a short detour for me yesterday. So
that's good, yeah. I do like the chicken wraps they do there. But either way, we digress. We're getting off track now. That's it. That's all we've got time for on this week's episode of Talking the PS. December's PlayStation Plus news, Far Cry news, an Uncharted ride, and much, much more. But thank you to everyone who's tuned in, listened, watched, and of course, a special shout out to our Helix heroes, Dwemer and Brenton K, who've just joined on the bronze tier. You guys have early access to this show. You guys have early access to CloudQuest and a bunch of other fantastic content up on the channel, alongside stickers and badges next to your name in the live chat, which we hope you'll all join us for this very Thursday/Friday as we tune in to watch Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, announcements, and more importantly, reveals, which we'll be covering no doubt on next week's show. But if you are a late night owl like myself and Richie, join us. It starts at 1 a.m, but I guess we'll probably have to go live ahead of time just so we can get the time zones and shit figured out.
We can talk off camera. Maybe we'll play some battle field and the run up.
Could be a good shout. Yeah, just kind of keep the blood flowing, and we'll switch over when the game finishes. That could be a good shout, definitely. We'll probably have some beers in as well while we watch along and react live to all of the big reveals. Don't forget CloudQuest and such as well. If you want to become a Helix Hero, of course, you can click join down below. And if you don't want to become a Helix Hero, we still have a fantastic Discord full of wonderful people who chat away, send their questions into the show, part of our wonderful community. They're all available in the description as well. Thank you very much for tuning in for this week's show. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been His Cloud Games. And remember, folks, play whatever makes you the happiest. Have a great week. See you on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.